Welcome to one of the most important conversations happening in sales and marketing today. AI has been the thing for the past few years, and it's not just a trend. Funny enough, I still hear those comments. It's a fad. It's a trend. It's gonna pass by. Um, and the fact is, it's not a trend. It is here to stay. So if your people, your process, your culture, your company um, isn't ready, this shift won't slow down for you. It's going to replace you. And so it's part of why I'm sitting here with Sam Farley. He's been a CEO, an educator. He's a guy who's led sales teams and taught leadership at, I believe, 2 universities. He's helping companies adapt AI at speed and really kind of linking the academic side of teaching the next generation of sales and sales leaders and tech leaders, uh, teaching them and then enabling them in the field. So this is a straight conversation, no slides, no polish. And so if you're leading a team through this whole AI wave, this is for you. So Sam, welcome. Thanks for
Thank you
joining.
so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I didn't say in addition to all those, Sam's just a genuinely good guy as well. So well, great. Well, let's kind of get right into it. And what's really killing AI adoption right now? Like what's
Yeah.
stopping us from really getting into it?
Yeah. No, there's a lot, but when you really come down to it, it's the problem I think most sales organizations have altogether is, the definition of insanity. We're doing the same thing and expecting different results. And so in today's world, there is still a sense of smiling and dialing, old school sales. And then everyone just plays the numbers game. Well, if it takes this many calls to get a set and this many sets to get an opportunity and this many opportunities to close, then we need to reverse that and figure out how many calls a day do we need to make and such. And so those are really the analytics that most sales teams are built on and have done for so long. Anytime you want to introduce change, a lot of people aren't always familiar with the pain they're going through that elicits the need for change. And so that's where people go, well, we've always done this and it has worked. You know,
Right,
my
right.
no matter what industry I've been in and sold in, when I'm presenting a solution to enhance or to improve something. I worked for a SaaS ed tech company for a number of years, and we were introducing a new way of performance assessment through video. And you can show all the research that shows why video and seeing yourself perform something increases your ability to improve so much more. I
Because
can
it's the
show,
worst.
but to educators, it was like,
Right, right.
yeah, but I've always taught this way and it's fine.
Hmm.
And it wasn't about how do we make things better, improve. They're okay with kind of the status quo. And so when we get into sales organizations, there are so many different tools out there in the tech stack. And so when you look at different tools, they say, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. Yes, I understand we can feel a little overwhelmed by, I don't need more on the tech stack. What AI is introducing now is a whole different game changer in how the sales process works. It's not just an additional tool, it is almost an additional person in some ways, that is part of your team. And so I think that's the thing that's really killing people the most is I don't feel the pain. So why do I need to have change? And what we've been doing is working. So why do I need to change? And if you aren't looking ahead and not figuring out what evolutionary changes do we need to make before it is too late, then it's already too late. So if people can get out of that rut of, doing the same thing and expecting different results to happen And if you're not finding the solutions to get those different results, then you're just going to be stuck in that, that death loop, or you're going to become obsolete.
It's interesting because if you look at the different management levels, right, there's different risk concerns, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at a manager or a director level at a company, hey, taking this shift is, they're putting their name there. It's a lot of risk.
Right.
And also, so it's easy to stay with the status quo. Really, you want to like carry on the vision of the executive team. On the other hand, though, what I'm finding is executives are being asked by their board, by their investors, by their leadership, hey, what's your AI strategy? Like, what are you doing with AI? And they can take a little bit more risk in trying something new and push that down. So it really kind of it's got to come from kind of the top down in a lot of ways. I mean, if you're really bold, you're brave as a manager, go for it. I mean, it's
Right.
awesome,
Right.
right? But and I think the other thing is whenever we talk about change, especially kind of on that front line, it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It is.
yeah. So it takes someone saying, hey, the correct answer, if someone says, hey, we do this because that's the way we've always done it, the correct answer is to, hit them upside the face and get back to work. I had a CEO say that once in a leadership meeting. He said, don't do it literally, but you get my drift.
Yeah,
It takes that inspiration to go ahead and do it.
it does. And I think that there's definitely a lot of people who like to play the safe game. I want to make a name for myself, but I want to make sure that it's 100% going to work before I make that name for myself. And you really do have to put yourself out there. I mean, as a sales leader, you should always be looking at finding something that's going to differentiate you from others. What makes your approach to sales different than others? But ultimately, those wins are going to drive your career so much more. And yes, it's not going to be 100%, but you have to be willing to take that risk. And, for the most part, even if it doesn't work, not going to cost you a job, as far as long as you didn't invest too much money. But that's the thing, is there's so many opportunities right now to take these risks at very minimal overhead cost. So
Right.
you should be driving that, and finding ways to pilot, finding things. It doesn't have to be this, everything changes overnight, but you have to understand. And, I also come to you today as a professor teaching, students in school. We're using AI to better prepare students for entering the workforce in sales. And so your new sales leaders coming into the workforce are using more and more technology than any salesperson's ever used. And it's way more than just knowing Salesforce, knowing a CRM. It is a full tech stack that is coming out, and they're going to be ready. Now, beyond what we're teaching them, they're also using all these tools in all of their education. Whether you like it or not, they know how to use ChatGPT. They know how to find these other resources to get the job done, and they're going to take that into the workforce. So if you're not looking at these tools on how to implement them, you're really going to hurt yourself, because you have a workforce coming to you that is ready to, grab this and run with it.
Let me ask you, because that was one of the first things when ChatGPT and Claude and really kind of came out. It was the big concern was, hey, how are students going to use this to cheat,
Right.
right? To write the papers or to do the work. How have you adopted or adjusted your teaching and uh, to to make the most of it, not just account for it, but really leverage it?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, every meeting I was a part of was, how are we going to defend ourselves from AI? How are we going to protect ourselves? How are we going to make sure students aren't cheating? And I took the different approach to say, let's just assume they are, and let's accept that. Now I tell my students, hey, go to AI and do this. And what is it telling you? Now let's analyze what that's giving us. Now, sure, I have students who very it's so obvious that they're using ChatGPT because they're not even editing anything coming through. I would rather students use
Their,
it effectively. And
their essay
so,
starts with, "I hope all is well."
yeah, or great question. Here's my response. And yeah, all right. So I have embraced it to say, hey, go to AI and ask these questions and then analyze the response you get back. What would you do to improve on that? What do you like about the response? What did you not like about the response? So that we can, because really, what is AI? AI is going to constantly be learning and growing. So how do we coach AI? How do I take what I got and now refine that to get what I really want out of it? And so we've implemented that quite a bit in our coursework to encourage students to use the resources because they're there. They're going to be using them anyway. So let's embrace it and get them using it the right way, because that is also how it's going to be applicable in the real world. I'm an adjunct professor. I'm not a full-time professor. So a lot of my focus has always been, how does this transfer to the real world? What's truly applicable? Some of your career educators may be a little bit out of touch in terms of that transition, and they're more focused on the education side. But I really try and drive everything to real world experience and exposure. So with that, use AI, but now teach it to get better and better and better, because that's how you're going to be doing it in the real world.
Well, so speaking about kind of shifting, let's look at kind of where we are in terms of using the AI. Like, are we still in evolution phase, or has AI really forced a revolution at this point?
Yeah. Oh, man. So backing up a bit, I have a master's degree in organizational development and an undergrad in organizational behavior. So one of my favorite subjects is change management. And with change management, you have those two, evolution and revolution. Ideally, evolutionary change allows us to refine and make things, over a time period. And, it's more of an effective manner. But there are times that revolutionary change has to happen. And, so how do we manage to that versus this? If we look at the example of other technologies, let's just take cell phones, for example. When the first cell phone came out, that was accessible to everybody. I'm not talking Saved by the Bell, brick wall, brick.
Right, the brick phone from Wall Street.
Yeah, only Wall Street people could afford.
Yeah.
When cell phones were readily accessible, you could go to the mall, get a basic phone. I remember the first time I got mine, it was a free one. I called my wife from the car. I was like, guess what? We have a cell phone. It was crazy.
Yeah, I called my best friend. I've
Yeah.
got it. It's great.
I know. Look at this. I can call you from anywhere.
I'm at the park.
So I'm going to say that was, mid to late 90s is really when cell phones were becoming just readily accessible to more and more people. And I remember talking to a friend of mine. He was a tech guy, and he showed me this article about your handheld Palm Pilot, how someday it could be a phone as well. And we were freaking out, like, oh my gosh, you could play solitaire and call someone. It's amazing. Little things like that. Well, you take late 90s to 2007 when the iPhone came out, kind of your first smartphone. Even though, you had Blackberries and, Palm Pilot did come out with their own phone. That's really when I look at cell phones kind of went to that next level. And then from 2007 to today, so we're spanning about 30 years of cell phone evolution that has happened. And it's just they keep getting better and better. Although, if you notice, cell phones aren't getting that much better. We keep getting a better camera and better batteries. But other than that, there's only so much more you can improve on those. But it took about 30 years to get there. Well,
Mm-hmm.
now let's compare that to AI. A couple of years ago, ChatGPT kind of got released to the masses, even though AI had been around for a while, but
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT got out there. And so, in about a 2 year span, it went from this, oh, that's a neat tool, to you better adopt this and figure out how to use this because it is learning so fast. You know, Steve, my experience with you guys at Signals, the
Mm-hmm.
first experience we had with Signals was a great tool. We didn't use it effectively in our environment, and so we were on the level of, do we really need this or not? Well, in those 2 years, you guys had advanced your AI technology so much to the point when I said, I can't do my business without this tool. And that timetable, if I look at AI where it is today and forecast
Mm-hmm.
that out 30 years, oh no, this is a revolutionary change. You need to hop on now. Because in the 2 years that really AI has been readily available to everybody and how far it has gone, if you wait another year or two, you are going to be way far behind and probably obsolete because as we talked about before, AI is learning, AI is growing. And if you don't start teaching it now how to interact in your environment and work with your tools, it's other people are going to learn it faster and figure it out better than you. And so you need to adopt these things now and figure out, how does this impact us and how do we adopt that now?
Yeah, I look at the prompts that I was doing 2 years ago when I just barely got it, a login for ChatGPT, and it was like,
Yeah.
hey, here, this would be funny. Write this email, but do it like a pirate,
Yeah.
or, write this now in iambic pentameter, and versus now where it's like, okay, here's a 4-hour meeting that I was in. I want you to divide this up based off of into paragraphs, fix the grammar, of the transcript and assign whoever said to what, and then give me a full analysis of the meeting, including to-do list that you're going to go ahead and put into my task management app, and or send out email. Like it's wild. And
Oh yeah.
really what we've gone from is, from at this point, like the flip phone from like X-Files days, to like the Nokia where we can swap out faceplates at this point.
Right.
Like, we haven't hit iPhone yet,
No.
right?
No.
So it's a lot that's being thrown at these teams, but as a leader, how do we continue to move fast without burning out the team?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it I think is, what I've done in the past is I empower my team to go in and do some research, go and try some tools, bring to me some new ideas, bring to me different things you're finding, because I can go out and research, but if I can have my team also be doing that and then we collaborate that together, these are ways that you also are now getting buy-in from your team. You almost have them, hey, go find some tools and then sell them to me. And any good salesperson, they buy into what they're selling. And so when you can get your team to kind of present to the team, we can
Mm-hmm.
have those discussions and figure out, how are we going to implement this. That's where you're going to get a lot of the buy-in. If I went out on my own and I found tools and I come to my team and go, oh my gosh, guys, I've looked for hours and hours, here's what we're going to do, they don't have that buy-in yet. I have to work on getting that buy-in. And just because I have a title or a position, that means they still have to do what I say. I don't care about that. I want them to have the buy-in. So when you have the buy-in, that speed of adoption is going to be that much faster for them. And you want to get them excited. So if you can demo things, one thing I would encourage people to do is get sold to. Reach out to these tools, reach out to these tech platforms like Signals and others, and say, hey, we love a demo, and
Mm-hmm.
then set up that demo for you and your team so that
Yeah.
everyone can see that, what it's like. It really gives you that firsthand experience. Now, yes, you're going to get sold to, you're going to get the follow-ups, but you want to invest that time because you want to truly understand what's available out there. Even if I go to someone's website, it's my perspective that I'm going to get an idea of, oh, I think it looks and does this. But if
Mm-hmm.
I have them present it to me and I can ask questions, it's going to just help you so much more understand how that is going to have a direct impact on your our platform, your success. Recently, I'm working with a company doing some consulting. They work with the deaf community.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, in fact, Steve, you and I had a meeting. I said, oh, sign language just doesn't have an AI system. Well, guess what? I found one that's being developed. Although maybe we still need to talk because it's going to take a while, and I
Sure.
think you guys can do it faster. But this company is figuring out how to provide sign language access, not captioning access, but sign language access to all of their customers. Using AI to be fully accessible, making it an ADA, access compliant platform. It blew my mind that these are the things I've spent a large amount of time working with the disabled community, the deaf community. And the biggest struggle is just access, equal access. And now we have AI that's developing and learning how to communicate in a first language, not in a second language, but in a first language. That access, it blows my mind. And if I went to their website, I wouldn't have seen as much versus meeting with them. Show me what this can do. Wow. So those are the things I
Yeah.
really encourage any sales leader to get those demos, meet with those companies, but involve your team in that. Have them spend an hour or two looking at other tools that we should be using, and then present that to the team. Let's have those discussions.
The trick that my wife knew, like from the moment we were married, and I had to figure out, took me 15 years to figure out, but the whole make it feel like it's their idea,
Yes.
trick, right? Um, yeah, and it's interesting that as we look at AI, it's so long it has been this thing that like devs use in the background,
Right.
or that you have to be a data scientist to get it, and now it's so accessible. We do need to consider things like what you mentioned, that a chat agent, that is using AI isn't enough, for example, for a deaf person,
Right.
but because just like you and I communicate differently when we're typing versus when we speak,
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense, obviously, that someone who's using ASL would that be different communication than when they chat.
Yeah.
I think the cool thing that I've seen is that ASL, and because sign language apart, because that's a whole other thing that we do need to tackle, but language when it comes to AI,
Mm-hmm.
it's not an obstacle at all.
Yeah.
Uh, I was speaking Haitian Creole to a chat agent, and it just came right back in Creole, like no problem. Here's an obscure language, did it just fine. But um, I do know that I grew up in Detroit in the middle of the whole automation shift,
Mm-hmm.
on the auto lines, and there was a lot of fear that everybody's going to be losing their job. And if you
Yeah.
look at like cashiers, or you look at fast food where people have been replaced by a kiosk or whatever, uh, there's a lot of fear when it comes to this new technology. And am I going to get replaced? Um, am I going to get lose my job? So how do you adopt these tools, these new technologies, and lead those teams through that fear
Yeah.
without kind of sugarcoating it and blowing smoke?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is, figure out how to use it now. You need to be that engineer. And I'm not talking about your mechanical or civil engineer, your high tech programmer. I'm just talking about know how to use the tool, how to coach the tool and make it your partner. Yes, there is still a human element in AI. We still need to give it the prompts. We still need to refine things. We still need to look at that and go, okay, not quite this, let's do that. We still need to be a part of that, but you have to embrace that and look at it as truly your partner in that. If you are not embracing it, then yes, you should fear that you will be replaced. um, you know just a few weeks ago, ChatGPT released their image, uh, new image tool. And I
Right.
think every graphic designer, their butt puckered a little bit tighter, because wow, it's amazing. And my VP of performance, he's pretty much said, in fact, I think he just posted on LinkedIn yesterday, um, all of our jobs are probably going to be obsolete in 3 to 5 years. So it's looking at now, how do we become the expert, the subject matter expert in using these tools, in giving it the prompts, in refining it, and making ourselves, just more valuable because we know how to use the technology. If you can embrace it now and figure out your part in that process, you shouldn't have any fear of losing your job. But if you are ignorant to it and you're just kind of avoiding it and
Right.
thinking, oh, it's just a fad, this is something that's not going to affect me, it'll never replace what I do, well, then you're just being ignorant, and you really are probably going to be replaced and lose your job. So you have to embrace it if you want to stay in it.
I heard Kevin Dorsey one time say that every good salesperson, CS person, executive, they're also a copywriter. Like they need to know how to write. And I feel like the same thing is with this. Everybody needs to be a prompt engineer, and I don't care if you are in academia, maybe you're assistant to a dean, or you are some sort of designer. I can tell you with the image creation, for example, I don't know enough about what goes into a really good design
Right.
to leverage that tool, but I can rough something out and then send that over to a graphic designer. Says, hey, here's my rough idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so think about how much farther they can go. I'd also say think about what it's going to allow you to do and free you up to do
Yeah.
rather than replace. Like look for those additional things
Right.
like the graphic designer. Do you have an example of like a company or something you've seen where they kind of got that right?
Oh gosh, I mean, we see a lot of companies starting to get there. I think this is the time you need to be jumping on. Just recently, Coca-Cola had a lot of controversy by releasing a fully AI commercial. And every content person or creation person out there just ripped it apart by, it doesn't look great, doesn't look great. But again, there has to be a first. My
Sure.
first phone was not anything to brag about, but it just kept getting better
Ericsson
and
680.
better. Yeah. I don't even know what mine was. It had a dial on the side and it was a
Yeah.
green screen. And yeah, it was
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
But that's where, I've seen a lot of companies. What I've seen more and more are companies that have adopted tools like Signals where I can interact with you online and I can actually get answers. We have jumped the shark a little bit from just a text base prompt of AI and an obvious, it sounds like you are looking for this. Is that correct?
Siri,
Now I can actually talk to someone, and I know it's an AI, but I can have a conversation just like I would. It's a normal thing. And that's where I've experienced several companies that have grabbed onto that. And now when I come up against the ones that are still in that, oh, sounds like you need this. Is that yeah? I'm like, what are you guys doing? This is
right.
cool. So there's a lot out there that are still behind, but I'm surprised how many more I'm seeing are picking it up. But again, it's more on the customer facing side. I haven't seen as much on the inside. There's still that resistance to change that is out there. Now, there's another tool out there, Ask Elephant. It's a great sales
Mm-hmm.
AI tool that joins your meetings. Different than Chorus or Chili Pepper or some of those.
Mm-hmm.
This one will actually give you the diagnosis after, and then I can chat with it just like it's an AI system. So
Mm-hmm.
I can say, great, now I want to put together a presentation. What should I focus on here? Well, you should do this. This is all right, great. And we can interact back and forth. So another great tool there that has just been blowing up, and it made a huge impact on our organization. So you have these customer facing ones, you have these operational ones in the background. Those are ones that I'm hoping there's more out there, but I still see a lot of resistance. So those are some companies that if they can find those internal ones as well as your customer facing ones, then you're on the right track and you want to keep
Sure.
going there.
I worked for a company. I worked for Fidelity Investments. Like I like to say, it's my first big kid job, and every question you ever wanted to answered about IRAs and investments and mutual funds and anything investment wise. We had this Fidelity or like an online resource that was just massive, but navigating it was a mess. And I just think about, hey, what a great tool it would be to have an AI that you just learn on the whole thing. And you're like, hey, someone wants to do X, Y, and Z, and then just like explain it back to you like you're 5, which is always a great prompt idea. But tell me, let's kind of land the plane here a little bit. I always love really good, solid takeaways. What are like 3 things that a leader can do, like even starting this week,
Mhm.
um, to review and start to really engage with AI for their team?
Yeah, I would say the first things you should do is find at least 5 different AI tools. And guess what? Go to ChatGPT and just type in, what are 5 tools, AI tools I should be looking at? This is my industry. This is what our issues are. Here's what I'm trying to solve. What should I look at? And guess what? It's going to give you several different options to look at, and then go look at those. So use AI to figure out how to use AI. Start working on that today. You can, as we're talking right now, you can have on another screen and you can be doing that. I would also immediately get a meeting, your next meeting with your team, with your sales team. Let's have an open discussion about this. What are you guys seeing? What are you hearing? Most people know other people. And so what are other organizations doing? So start asking those questions, figuring that out, and then take the risk. Start implementing new tools into your process today. Now, you don't need to overhaul everything. You can kind of do an evolutionary, approach at first, but it's going to be a little bit faster. But don't be afraid to start implementing things now so that you can get on that road and that path to, get to where you want to be. Because with AI, the more you start doing today, it's just going to get better, better, and stronger and stronger. So I would say those are the 3 things you want to do. Investigate tools that are available, get the buy-in and your involvement from your team, and then start to work on an implementation plan. Whether it's one thing, whether it's a bigger thing, figure out where you're at, but start doing something today.
We've certainly seen that on our end. It's been really interesting to see how, as teams do take the risk on one small little project and like, okay, it may not have done everything we need it to do, but we learned, and next time it's going to do so much more, and you see it just grow exponentially throughout the organization. And it goes from, do I have to wait, do you have a login? And I'm calling it like internal viral growth. So,
Yeah.
well, Sam, I appreciate it. Remember those 3 points as takeaways: that look up those 5 AI tools and use Claude or ChatGPT to do it. Think of those tools as a search engine. Set up the meeting with your team to think about how you can. My guess is, if you have the meeting with your team, they might already be using these tools. They just haven't been afraid to bring it up.
Right.
And then finally, take the risk. Start small and expand it. And if it's really good, it'll turn into that viral growth where people are asking for the login. So
Yeah.
um, I'll close with this: that I think that rewiring your team is not optional. This shift is not going to be an optional shift. And you can either be Netflix or you can be Blockbuster. And so if you lead with that clarity, trust, embrace experimentation, you're going to win. And if not, AI is not going to punish you. It's just going to replace you.
Yeah.
So thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.